So let's play a little game. Today I played with 3 of the most hated Skylanders to try to determine which one is the most underrated. Now to judge this competition of sorts, I decided all 3 would have to complete Battle Brawl Island all the way through. Now some of these Skylanders are more upgraded than others, and I kept that in mind when I was ranking them. Let's start off with our first contestant, Sprocket. Sprocket's primary attack is her wrench swing, which does decent damage at close range, but is most effective against large, slow attackers and isn't as good against ranged enemies. Her low health means she has to be careful how she takes on many attackers at once, and her secondary attack is easily her worst. She summons turrets, which take way too long to build and barely do any damage, and even when she can hop in her tank, it doesn't justify placing down the turrets in the first place. Her third attack is where things get interesting. Sprocket throws down the mine, which explodes when an enemy comes close to it. It does good damage and can be thrown while running, which gives a good attack to use while running away from enemies. I went with her top path, which gives 2 combos, which are pretty good, 3 mines to be thrown at once, which is really good, and a stronger wrench attack. All in all, I had pretty good fun using her, and Sprocket died once during her play. Now let's move on to my second contestant, Blastermind. At first I was considering Head Rush instead for this spot, but I went with Blastermind because Head Rush seems to be higher on most people's lists, and if Head Rush won, she wouldn't be as underrated as Blastermind if he won. So, the first ability is a melee attack called Brainwaves. The attack is really weak and it only does 40 damage, which it doesn't justify using it. While it is fast, again, it's weak. So why would you use it over his secondary attack called Levitation, which does the same amount of damage but is ranged. It's just as fast as his primary, and it's ranged, and that's probably easily his best attack. So his third attack is really bad. It's called Brain Freeze, and it only does 15 damage. I picked the bottom path to fully upgrade it, and it doesn't really get any better. It slows down enemies, and you can mind control them for them to fight for you, but even when you mind control them, it only lasts for long enough for them to attack once, and then they're unmind controlled again. So wasn't very good. Blastermind, sorry. And he is a character where you have to spam one ability to be good with him, and I like a lot more strategy in my Skylanders, but Blastermind did not die once. Now on to my third contestant, Supershot Stealth Elf. My gameplay was not able to upload to my laptop for editing, so you will see Jawbreaker gameplay in the background instead, so I'm sorry about that. Now, Supershot Stealth Elf is the least upgraded of all these Skylanders. She has all her upgrades up to her path, while the other 2 Skylanders are fully upgraded, so I've taken that into consideration like I said I would. Supershot Stealth Elf really pisses me off because Stealth Elf is really good. This is one case where I think melee is better than ranged characters, and I'm normally a fan of ranged characters over melee, so yeah, that's saying something. But I think the main problem with the range for me is the lock-on mechanic with the primary attack, the dagger cannon. Now, I don't know why, but I like this mechanic with Double Trouble. Maybe because it's just really easy to hop between enemies with it, but in the case of Supershot Stealth Elf, it is not well executed whatsoever. Now don't get me wrong, this attack is a good boss killer, but if I'm fighting normal enemies, I want to be able to change targets easily at will. Her second attack is really good, actually. It's the same as Stealth Elf's stealth attack, but instead of a motionless scarecrow attracting enemies, you have a turret that fires in one direction. And if it's placed down well, this attack can be quite deadly. The third attack is just a worse version of normal Stealth Elf's third attack, where instead of being able to spam a combat roll, which does damage, you spin in a circle, which does knock back enemies and gives her temporary speed boosts, but it is a downgrade to the old version because with the old version, you never lose your momentum with your normal movement. Blastermind is weak and boring to use, and I see why everyone hates him. Supershot Stealth Elf is not a bad Skylander by any means, but by no means is overrated. She is easily the worst of the Superchargers cast. Now Sprocket, on the other hand, I quite enjoyed. She requires a bit of strategy, which I do like, and even though she is the only Skylander in this test to die, she was the one that I had the most fun with. So Sprocket gets the gold, Supershot Stealth Elf gets the silver, and Blastermind, well, fuck Blastermind.